Coming up on the Ravens Rundown, we're going to take a look at some of the top draft options at linebacker now that Bobby Wagner did not sign with Baltimore and is going to his hometown team in the Los Angeles Rams. According to The Athletic, Ravens looking to retain some of their veterans in NFL free agency. We also have a pretty decent update on Ronnie Stanley as he continues to come back from consecutive ankle injuries. All that coming your way on today's show. All right, here we go. You're watching the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of you are gearing up to have a fantastic weekend. A loaded show coming your way as always because that is what we do here on the Baltimore Ravens Rundown. And we start off with Bobby Wagner electing to not sign on with the Baltimore Ravens. We had covered this at length here on the channel. We were all hopeful that Wagner was going to rock the purple and black for years to come because let's look at the Baltimore Ravens history, right? Ray Lewis, a bunch of fantastic linebackers. Terrell Suggs, you thought that Bobby Wagner was going to be next in line, and the Ravens were competing with the Los Angeles Rams in signing him. Instead, I'm not sure the Ravens were willing to fork over 5 years and $50 million to Bobby Wagner, who at 32 years old is coming off a 170 tackle season last year. Instead, he goes to the Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, as they outbid of sorts the Baltimore Ravens in NFL free agency. So before we take a look at some of the draft option replacements that the Rams overtook Baltimore and they got Bobby Wagner and the Ravens now looking for a linebacker, give me your one-word reaction to Bobby Wagner signing with LA and not be more. Let me know in the comments section right now. Top linebacker prospects in the 2022 NFL Draft who could fall to Baltimore. A bevy of really, really good players and accomplished players at that. Nakobe Dean, everybody wants to knock his athleticism. I really like the player. Anybody who was on this Georgia defense last year put up monster numbers. And when I watch Nakobe Dean, I don't really compare the game film to how he tested at his pro day or during the NFL Combine. I watch the player, and I see a guy who is a heat-seeking missile from sideline to sideline, can get up and down the field vertically. Last year, 68 tackles, 6 sacks. He's so active around the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, but I like his coverage instincts, and I like his athleticism going up against running backs on wheel routes and against tight ends. I think this guy is going to be a very good pro for a long time, and if Baltimore can bring him in to this player-friendly scheme with really good complementary pieces around him, he's going to have a long and successful NFL career. As for Devin Lloyd, a couple years ago, a lot of people didn't know who Devin Lloyd was. Very good backer for Utah, one of the best players for a team that went to the Pac-12 championship and really had a successful season, almost won the Rose Bowl. Devin Lloyd's a really good player, also sideline to sideline, maybe a better athlete than Nakobe Dean, but I really like his pedigree and I like his potential going to the NFL. He's really climbed up some teams' boards over the last few months, especially with the play that he put on tape last year in 2021. 3 more guys. Christian Harris of Alabama. Any Alabama defender really does intrigue me because Nick Saban is defensive guru, and I understand that some Alabama players have not translated to great pro players. I do think Christian Harris can be a very good backer at the National Football League. And Leo Chenal from Wisconsin, Chad Muma of Wyoming, other options who might be available a little bit later on as compared to Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd, and maybe even Christian Harris. So we just took a look at some of the best linebacking prospects who Baltimore could target now that they've lost out on Bobby Wagner. Now I want to hear from you. Treat that comment section like a Sports Talk Radio call-in line and name a linebacker prospect you want the Ravens to draft this year, whether it's one of those 5 aforementioned players or another player in this NFL draft class. While you're down there, make sure you subscribe to the channel. The Ravens Rundown continues to grow. A big reason for that, all of your support. Liking our videos, commenting on our videos, and of course, subscribing to the channel. Our goal is to get to 5,000 subs as soon as possible. Right now, we're a little north of 4,200 subs. So let me pose this question for the audience. Do you want multiple videos per week that's interactive, informative, and engaging, and consistent? Well, you came to the right place because we have you covered here at Chat Sports on the Ravens Rundown. So the solution to that question is very, very simple. You see that red subscribe button down below? Smash that for the best Ravens coverage here on YouTube. According to The Athletic, the Ravens after being somewhat silent in NFL free agency outside of that big splash of bringing in Marcus Williams on that $70 million contract, are looking to retain and re-sign some of their veterans as they look to build out the rest of their roster on the outer edges and the peripheries. And that does include one of the best interior defensive linemen that we've seen over the last decade. Now, he's not that player necessarily anymore, but he's a very, very good player still and can still impact games. That's Calais Campbell. Because of his extraordinary size, at 6'8", 300 pounds, he's going to be able to make plays happen. As a rotational defensive tackle, there's no question about that. But on a one-year contract worth little money, yeah, I'm down. Now, Justin Houston last year, also a little bit older, also a little bit longer in the tooth, coming off a 34-tackle, 4.5 sack campaign, 6 tackles for loss. Again, we're not talking about surefire starters here. We're not talking about guys who you have to rely on 3 downs. We're talking 3rd down pass rush or a couple of running downs. You bring in some experienced players like a Houston and a Calais Campbell, and they can impact games for you, and they might be better than a guy who is an undrafted free agent who doesn't have the pedigree of some of these all-star caliber guys. And then Josh Bynes, lastly. Last year, 76 tackles, 2 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, rotational linebacker again. The point of emphasis here, we're not talking about players who you're going to give a bunch of money to. These are moves that are necessary when you want to have depth at certain important positions like defensive line and like at linebacker. And given the fact that Baltimore has a loaded offensive unit and a very, very good defensive unit, maybe the best secondary in the National Football League, you fill out the rest of those holes and you put the round peg in that round hole and you're good to go and compete for another Super Bowl for a Ravens team that I think a lot of people are sleeping on going into 2022. If you want Ravens flock for the Ravens to re-sign these veterans, 1, 2, maybe all 3 of them, then you see that thumbs up icon, smash it if you want the Ravens to bring back some of these veteran players. Ronnie Stanley update. Unfortunate what's happened to him over the last 2 calendar years. He signs that monster contract extension at the time, making him one of the highest paid tackles in the sport. And the game after he signs that deal suffers that gruesome ankle injury, tries to come back early last year, unsuccessful in doing so, had to get more ankle procedures. When he's right, he's one of the best tackles in the game. And for Lamar Jackson, you want to prioritize keeping him healthy, keeping him upright, because Lamar, first couple years of his career, has been a quarterback who's been prone to getting hit a lot because, after all, that is his style. Harbaugh saying, yeah, we're going to be a little bit more cautious this offseason as compared to last offseason when Ronnie Stanley was trying to really rush coming off that severe ankle injury. Maybe he's ready for week 1. Is he going to be ready for training camp, though? Less than a calendar year removed from that previous injury? Yeah, we'll kind of see about that. As for other Ravens coming off significant injuries, we talk about Ronnie Stanley, and isn't it amazing that the Baltimore Ravens still nearly made the playoffs, and if they got in, they would have been a dangerous team, despite losing all of these high-level players? Stanley, Lamar Jackson, Marlon Humphrey, J.K. Dobbins. Those are only 4 impact players among a lot of other impact players who missed significant time for Baltimore here in 2021. That's why you have to subscribe to the channel, because this upcoming year for Baltimore is going to be a fascinating one as we project them, or at least I project them, to be in the mix for teams to win the AFC North. How does Cincinnati come off a Super Bowl loss? Is Deshaun Watson going to be cleared to play? Is he going to go on the commissioner's exempt list? Like, there are questions within this division. The Pittsburgh Steelers have Mitchell Trubisky at that quarterback spot. So Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, these teams and this race in the AFC North wide open, and we're going to cover it all steps of the way. So make sure you hit that red subscribe button down below. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time here on the show.